Hello, I'm Rebecca Spindler. I head up the Science and Conservation team at Bush Heritage Australia. I stand on what is, was, always will be Gadigal land, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I recognise that as I stand on Australian soil, I stand on Aboriginal land, and I pay my respects to elders across the country. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn a little bit more about a collaborative project that we're leading at the moment. First, acknowledge my key partners, Brendan Wintle and team from the University of Melbourne, and the support that we have from the Ian Potter Foundation, who've given us a really strong base from which to launch this new program that we're calling Conservation Futures. First, what I thought I would do is actually take you through a case study of why this is so important, and it's a particular project that Bush Heritage have done specifically to get an update on the particular areas that were absolutely critical for Bush Heritage to invest more resources into the future, starting right now. So I'll just share my screen with you. And obviously this is about the Conservation Futures program, but very specifically from the Bush Heritage perspective, we are constantly trying to figure out how to maximise the conservation benefit that we can have by working now to protect our lands, including cultural importance as well as ecological important assets into the future. In order to do this particular update, we had to look back through our basic information of the IBRA subregions, which is what we base all of our prioritisation work, and incorporated a lot of information from native title areas as well. We had to look at the level of protection within each of those areas to decide specifically how to improve the protection of underrepresented areas. We then looked at the condition of these areas, and we looked at a number of different available resources, but fundamentally came to a relatively recent paper by Bayer et al. In 2020, and thanks to Steve Kearney and James Watson from University of Queensland, who provided us with an analysis across the landscapes. We then delved into a little bit more detail and started looking with our partners at CSIRO on where we could have the greatest potential impact in terms of restoring and relinking landscapes through restoration and revegetation. We've started looking at state-based information around the impact to aquifers and groundwater-dependent ecosystems, looking at state-based information on bores, water management, mining applications and approvals. Then again, with different partners at CSIRO, looking at the range of likely temperature and rainfall changes, both annually and over time within across the seasons. And then really specific information around using NVIS as well as the NRM ADAPT information from CSIRO, looking at how each individual ecosystem type was going to change in terms of its preferred range over the next 30 to 50 years. And each one of our landscapes, we have 20 landscapes, each one of those landscapes has a roughly 40 vegetation types, and we've compared between the three different timescales. We also started looking at weeds and understanding how the weeds were going to change again in terms of preferred landscape. So were they going to come into a priority landscape? Were they going to decrease in their degree of threat across a priority landscape? And that work has been done through the weeds.org.au and Climex modelling. And thanks to all of those people who've made that information readily available. One of the things you'll notice, though, is that it's all at different scales. Some of it is at a national scale, some of it's state, some of it's property based, some of it is even lower scale than that, and they don't necessarily integrate very well even across in the same sort of index. They don't integrate well across different geographic scales, and they certainly don't integrate well together. One of the other big problems with this data is, and many of you will have noticed this, at this scale, it completely lacks appropriate and sensitive information on the places and things that are most important in the landscapes to country and to the traditional owners of that country. As many of you are aware, this has significant consequences in that a lot of planning might be done by governments, industry, Western land managers or anyone else where the voices of traditional owners and the important places, species and values are left out of that decision making. We recognise that every landscape is important, but we now critically need to understand within those landscapes what are the areas that absolutely must be protected. What are the best ways that we can do that? And importantly, understanding past land use of a particular area and how we should be managing that landscape into the future. In talking with other conservation NGOs and government agencies, this is a shared frustration. We all need a better information system to be able to be available, publicly available, to make these sorts of decisions. And so this is what we're calling the Conservation Futures Knowledge System. Our hope is that through this project, we can work together with traditional owner communities and with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders, researchers and practitioners to figure out culturally sensitive and meaningful ways of representing country, so that the values, leadership and knowledge of custodians of country are front and centre in planning and decision making, and to develop a knowledge system that is cohesive, comprehensive and genuinely meets the needs of every decision maker on the landscape, regardless of what they're making decisions around. In this model we have in mind is something that will be able to source and blend environmental information in a single, accessible, interactive knowledge system that will give us a full 360-degree view of every landscape. The Conservation Futures project is really lucky to have strong Aboriginal leaders providing guidance as well as boots on the ground to shape the project collectively as we all work to build on current approaches for knowledge and data management that maintain sovereignty for a traditional owner, build on relationships of trust and are backed by solid, co-developed legal agreements. As well as working in a national scale, Conservation Futures will also undertake regional planning where we'll apply and improve information in the system with on-ground case studies, bringing people together across a catchment to build consensus and really working across sectors. We'll bring traditional owners, farmers, conservationists, communities, miners, everybody working together in a particular landscape and understand the shared aspirations. What does everybody want the next generation to inherit? We want to understand how we work together and individually to meet the overarching goals and aspirations of the collective group. We'll be working hand in hand with the NRM regions who've already made great strides in landscape scale planning over the last decades, and with the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, the Conservation Planning Specialist Group. We'll open up discussions on identifying opportunities for acting together on key threats, building economies of scale, and taking up incentives and benefits for specific management actions or transition. Together with the information system that the Conservation Futures project will be developing at a national scale, there's an opportunity to develop regionally relevant strategies that are going to address local threats and build effective connectivity between landscapes. There's good evidence out there that collective strategic action is the most effective in reducing threats common to culture, productivity, biodiversity, and livability of regions. We may also be able to underpin reporting structures that could open up market benefits or incentives to the participants. And importantly, with a forward-looking approach, we aim to be sure that the impact of any of the contributing actions that we design and the benefits that come from that will remain strong into the future. We want to make sure that these changes are climate ready. By being aware now of the changes that are likely to come, the approaches we will build will be designed to be more resilient to those changes. Bush Heritage and Melbourne Uni are leading this collaborative project together, as I mentioned, but we're really grateful to all the partners in this project: NRM Regions Australia, the Indigenous Land and Sea Corporation, NAB, Odinata, BirdLife, IUCN in the Australian Committee, Curtin University, University of Queensland, CSIRO, Nature Conservancy, Greater Eastern Ranges, ACF, there's just Australian Conservation Foundation and the State Department of Victoria, South Australia, New South Wales, the Environment Departments. If you're not on this page and you'd like to be a part of the project, please get in touch with Brendan Mintle from the University of Melbourne or myself. We would love to have you on board. If you'd like to nominate your catchment for the regional planning, if you'd like to use the knowledge system for your decision making, or if you have important knowledge that you'd like to talk with us about, please get in touch. We need a diversity of people to realise this vision. We really look forward to giving you further updates into the future. And again, thanks for taking the time to learn about this project. Thank you.